The Roman Empire had many strange and brutal punishments, reflecting both their cultural values and harsh methods of maintaining law and order. They used most cruel practices to maintain peace. Before we begin, welcome to History Walks. Please subscribe and share our video if you found it interesting. Number 1. Damnatio ad bestias. One of the most famous and terrifying forms of execution was damnation to the beasts. This punishment involved throwing the condemned person into the arena to be killed by wild animals like lions, tigers, or bears. It was not only a death sentence, but also a public can watch and feel entertained. Number 2. Crucifixion. This punishment is more famous because of its connection to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. It was also used to execute criminals in a slow and painful way. The condemned person was either nailed or tied to a cross and left to die from a mix of blood loss, dehydration, and suffocation. It was a strong symbol of the harsh power of Roman authority. Number 3. Punicale, punishment of the sack. This was a particularly gruesome punishment for parricide, killing one's father. The guilty party was sewn into a leather sack with a variety of animals, such as a dog, a rooster, a snake, and a monkey, and then thrown into the sea or river. The idea was that the person would die from suffocation or drowning while being attacked by the animals. Number 4. Fustuarium. This punishment involved a brutal beating with a wooden club, often performed in the army, particularly for soldiers who had deserted or committed serious offenses. The offender could be beaten to death by fellow soldiers, and the execution was swift and gruesome. Number 5. Decimation. This term was mainly used in the military and was a way to punish a whole group for showing fear or running away. Soldiers would be split into groups of 10, and every 10th person would be killed by their fellow soldiers. This was done to create fear and keep everyone in line. Number 6. Burning alive. Some criminals, especially those found guilty of serious offenses like treason or sacrilege, were burned alive. This punishment served as both a way to execute them and a public event. Treason, which is a severe crime against the government, usually resulted in the most horrific forms of execution. Number 7. Punishments for witchcraft and magic. In Roman society, accusations of witchcraft, sorcery, or practicing black magic were taken very seriously, especially during times of crisis or superstition. People found guilty of these offenses were usually executed by burning. The Roman legal system often viewed the use of magic as a danger to the state, and those accused were often killed in big public trials or events. Number 8. The vultures. There was a very cruel type of punishment for people who betrayed the government or were its enemies. When someone was sentenced to death, their body was sometimes left for vultures, called vulturarii, or other animals that eat dead things. This was done to stop their body from being buried, which would have allowed for any final religious ceremonies or respect. This punishment was part of a process called Damnatio memoriae, which was a way to completely erase someone from history. Number 9. Slaughtering the family. Punishment. When a whole family was believed to be involved in a crime, a more severe punishment could be given. The main criminal would be put to death, and their entire family, including children, might be killed or forced into slavery. For instance, in some cases of treason, the emperor could order the execution of the entire family to stop any future plots or uprisings. Number 10. Skinning alive. Though not frequent, skinning was occasionally used as a punishment for the most serious criminals or state enemies, especially those accused of high treason. The person would be skinned while still alive, and their body would be put on display as a public warning. This form of execution was extremely painful and served as a strong reminder of the consequences of betrayal. Number 11. Damnatio memoriae. This wasn't a physical punishment, but it was a very harsh way to punish someone who betrayed the state or caused harm to it. It meant erasing all signs of that person's life, taking their name off of plaques, breaking their statues, and even removing them from history books. It was like they never even lived. Number 12. Suffocation in a cell. This one is my personal favorite. For prisoners who had committed serious crimes, but were not executed outright. Some were locked away in small, dark cells, sometimes called tombs, where they would suffocate over time due to the lack of air. The terror was not just in the slow process of suffocation, but in the absolute isolation. Left alone with no food or water, the condemned would gradually lose consciousness from oxygen deprivation, and their final moments spent in total darkness and complete abandonment. This form of punishment could be prolonged for months, rendering it one of the most psychologically brutal. Number 13. Death by the roasting bull. As it sounds, you'll think that a person is thrown and thrashed by bulls. You're wrong. Anyways, one of the strangest ways to execute someone was called the brazen bull. This was a very cruel method of capital punishment, where the person to be executed was put inside a hollow bronze bull statue. The bull was then heated over a fire until it became like a furnace, slowly cooking the person alive inside. The bull was designed so that the person's screams would echo through the hollow space, making it sound like the bull itself was roaring. It was a way of execution that mixed cruelty with a terrible public show. In Roman Empire, justice was harsh, but it also showed how powerful they were. It was a sign that even long ago, the difference between order and cruelty was very small. Room being nailed to a cross to being sent away, Roman punishments were meant to show everyone who had the most control. In the empire, fear and discipline went hand in hand. Though centuries have passed, the brutal punishments of the Roman Empire still echo through history, leaving us to ponder. The harsh punishments of Rome may be long gone, but the lessons they left behind on law, power, and fear still resonate today. Let me know in the comments section which punishment you find most interesting. And for more videos, follow us.